Brexit Day is finally here. It's happening at 11 p.m. European time. That'll happen this afternoon here in America. And we wanted to check in on a day I wasn't sure was ever going to come with Daniel Hannan. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Glenn. It's a real pleasure as always. And I'm delighted to say it's actually happening at 11 p.m. UK time. European time is something different. I should just to make clear to your listeners, I'm not a European. I'm a Brit.
So you're here, and the markets haven't collapsed, and the seas aren't on fire, and there's going to be food in people's mouths, and grocery stores will be open tomorrow.
I'm looking out of my window. I don't see any dinosaurs or any asteroid strikes. There isn't World War III. In fact, not only that, Glenn, but the UK economy has outperformed the Eurozone for the last couple of years. We have more people in work than ever before in our history. The stock exchange has surged. Our exports are up. Our manufacturing is up. We've attracted more inward investment than any country in the world except China. So I think we can reasonably look forward with some optimism and confidence to what the future holds.
So, Daniel, what does this mean? First of all, let me just say this. A, congratulations. B,
thank you. I appreciate that.
You guys you did what we did in 1776, except we had to have a war because you guys were so stupid and stubborn. But but when I watched Nigel Farage's speech, I couldn't believe what they did to him in the end. They made his point. But I thought this is a shot heard around the world, just like our Declaration of Independence was. You did a very American thing, and you did it right. You did it without arms and riots. I mean, that's a remarkable thing you guys have just pulled off.
Well, I could turn that around and channel Edmund Burke, who was, of course, an MP at the time of the revolution, and say that you guys did a very British thing in 1776, which was to take to its logical conclusion the arguments in favor of personal freedom and democracy. But I tell you this, no country that I can think of ever got poorer as a result of becoming more self-governing. And I do think we are feeling something of the mood of optimism that swept over the then colonies in 1776. I was looking at John Adams's letters, and he was probably the gloomiest of the founders, deeply pessimistic man. But when the Declaration of Independence, even he got caught up with the mood, and he wrote to his wife, Abigail, "Through all the gloom I can see the rays of ravishing light and glory. I can see that the end is worth more than all the means, and that prosperity will triumph." And Brits are a fairly reserved people. We wouldn't put it in such florid terms, but that is the mood here. There are parties going on all around. There are, I'm speaking to you from London. There's a crowd a little bit down the road outside Parliament, just happy, good-natured people waving the flag. And as I walked past a moment ago, they were singing Sweet Caroline. So good, so good.
That's so funny.
Of course, it's a great thing to feel that you're back in charge of your own affairs.
So what do you think's going to happen with the European Union? Because as I watched that, and I connected to what he was saying about an out-of-control government, that's not what we signed up for. It's corrupt. You're ignoring us. You go your own way. You belittle us, and you belittle.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I can relate to it, surely the people in France or Germany or or Norway or Sweden, they're looking at that, going, "Yeah, you know what? What are we doing?"
Yeah, and that's the thing that they're really scared of. How does the EU respond to Brexit? Britain's going to be fine. But what's going to happen in the Eurozone? And actually, again, I don't want to kill this metaphor or this parallel by overdoing it. But since you started it, again, there's a fairly
no. It's actually the Brits that started it, just by
So, okay, you started the parallel. The Brits immediately after Yorktown were in the same kind of mood that Brussels is in now. They were hurt and angry, but it didn't take long for the British government to realize that its own interests depended on having a good, cordial relationship with the new country. And so the new administration under Shelburne in 1782 said, we're going to open all of our ports in Britain and the Caribbean to all American vessels. We're going to renounce all our claims on all the Trans-Appalachian territories. and Jay and Franklin couldn't believe the generosity. But from a British point of view, it was the correct thing to do because we understood that free trade is good for everybody, that we wanted to have rich neighbors because rich neighbors make good customers, and that's how it worked out. Now,
let's remember that you did come back in 1812 to start a war and burn our White House.
Surely the most ridiculous war ever, right? The reason that the war began was over before the first shots were fired, and the only significant engagement took place after the peace terms had been signed, but before news had reached New Orleans.
Right.
But I mean, the interesting thing is the EU could respond to the Brexit vote by saying, okay, I wonder why we got that wrong. Maybe we become a bit too remote.
Won't happen.
Maybe we need to reconnect. Maybe the Italians or the Dutch or the Poles or the Danes will feel similarly. Let's try and anticipate. Let's try and devolve a little bit of power. But so far, they've done exactly the opposite. They said, oh, great. Now that the Brits are out of the way, we can have a European army and we can have a European tax system and we can have more and more power for the centre. And I think if they insist on taking that line, then the EU will fall apart sooner rather than later.